Welcome to Beyond Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Petrellis, and we are really excited for today's guest. We've taken a little time off this summer. As you guys know, we've been super busy with the Boston Glory, our ultimate Frisbee team, who is in second place, who just kind of finished their season yesterday. They had played doubleheader this weekend. But they finished second place, did a heck of a job, and they're going to be hosting a few games with Hormel, so we're excited to be down there. I'm going to be emceeing these games. I'm going to be on the microphone during the game, getting the crowd going. So kind of a cool little role for me that's different and exciting. So we'll have more on that later this week on our Instagram page. And then obviously the Mass Pirates, our guys over there, they start their playoffs this week. They got the number 3 seed. I think they're on the road. I forget exactly where they're going off the top of my head. They play at Frisco. I don't know exactly where that is, but so we're super excited about them as well. So our teams are kind of jumping in the playoff mode, and we're 100% behind them in any home games we're there. So we're excited. But on to our guest today, an awesome guest that we have on, someone that I've got to see over the last few years, play multiple sports at Medford High School, a leader, a really good player in a true high school, a true athlete in high school sports. Is tough these days. Academics and everything else is rigorous. So being able to kind of commit yourself on and off the field is tremendous. And the guy we have on here today also going to be playing collegiately, just graduated. So cool to be able to talk about the process with that as well. But without further ado, recent graduate of Medford High School, Jack Lombardo.
Uh, Hello, everyone. I'm Jack Lombardo. I played baseball for years at Medford High. I didn't play football the COVID year. It was only a 4 game season, so I thought it was a little weird. But then my sophomore year, I jumped into that, and it was awesome. These last 4 years, Medford High, they were awesome. Uh, I like to shout out Coach Curley, of course, because he has been my guy for the past 3 years. Coach Oz was awesome for me. They both got me to where I'll be going this fall, and thank them for that. And yeah, I'm excited for the podcast.
Yeah, so that's really cool to give them a shout out. I think that's awesome. And yeah, we got to see you over the last couple of years from a younger age to now, just kind of grow as an athlete. You could see kind of that ascension for you and being like, oh, this kid will be interesting when he's a junior and senior. And to kind of see you doing in two sports that we've covered for you guys now for a few years. It was fun to watch your growth and fun to have you on here today. So we'll have a little bit of fun. But obviously we'll talk. You got two sports here. We'll talk football first. I think that's where I kind of first found you and heard about you in that world a little bit. But you've had success early in your high school career. But I want to focus on maybe just your senior season here, because to me this was a big season for you. I think a huge season for the program
Yeah.
under Coach Curley. I think it's your first winning record, and if I had Chris Murphy on here, he'd be able to give me every fact from now until then. But I know that your guys, had your first winning season in a very long time. You beat Malden for the first time in a very long time. And being able to be a senior leader quarterback, being able to kind of lead the offense, that's just really cool to be a part of something that hopefully just continues to grow. And you guys are those people, that class that they'll remember when the program kind of takes that next step. So I want to give you a little time to talk about that. I think that's cool. I mean, talk about that and having such a successful season for the first time in a long time in Medford.
So I would say the success of this season all started in 2023, but the winter of 2023 is when we got a real wake up call after losing at Fenway. That we all thought like that killed the program for a while. Everyone was so excited to see Medford play at Fenway. Everyone was pumped up, but then didn't go how we wanted it. But we didn't let that affect us. Most of us, pretty much all the senior class, worked out every week during the winter. We just lifting was huge. Coach Kelly was a big enthusiast of the gains and lifting in the weight room during the off season, and then carried into the summer, and then we got to play in a 7-on-7 league. And my we had a new offensive coordinator this year, AJ, Coach AJ, and he was great to me. I love him. So we got to basically it was like a new system that they wanted to run. So we got to go through that 7-on-7 league, and we got to learn the offense a little bit more. And then
And
we
what
just
was that like for you, switching systems a little bit? Like for
I
you,
was
what was the maybe the coolest thing about it, or maybe what was like the toughest thing about it too?
I was psyched when Coach Kelly named Coach AJ the offensive coordinator because my junior year I worked with him a lot because they named me the starter halfway through the junior year, and then he was a JV coach, whatever. We worked together all the time, and then I Playing on the varsity junior year, it was cool, but I don't know. I didn't. The system was alright. I wasn't a big fan of the system because it was. I don't know. I don't know. But then Coach JJ, I love the way he ran our system. He mixed the pass game in a lot. The run game was awesome. The everything was great. But maybe the toughest thing was just there was just a bunch of new play calls and names, and it took me a little while to get all those patted down because I got to know everything, of course. So that just took me a little while to just understand like what he really wanted to do for us on the field, and like what his mindset was. And then once we got on the same page, we were clicking, and it was awesome.
Yeah, what I found so interesting about your offense, just from like seeing you guys a few times this season, is you definitely run heavy first offense. That's
Yeah,
kind of how I felt. I mean, you had the horses to do it for sure. But being able to play action off of the success of your run game, being able to throw the ball off of that, was great this year. And I was so interested to kind of see the balance of that with you offensively because teams that typically can run the ball pretty well, you have a quarterback who can throw the ball and is smart and be able to read something and maybe not necessarily have to read a lot, just read one or two keys on, hoping that a safety bites or a linebacker bites or something to kind of be open. But that's cool. I mean, and you could see kind of the growth of it. I thought on Thanksgiving, you saw it just like clicking on all cylinders. Like you guys were so balanced as a
yeah,
D coordinator for a long time. It'd be like, oof, it's just tough kind of knowing when to call when it seems like everything the other team call like works really well.
yeah. That's funny that you brought up the Thanksgiving because we were watching film on Malden, of course, for like well, pretty much all year. We scouted them, of course. That's our hate those guys. We watch them. We know what they want to do, and we knew they knew we had Stevens, the number two, probably the running back.
Hmm.
They knew if he came in the I formation, oh, they're gonna try to run down our throat. The first play of the game, we did a play action. I hit Justin down the sideline. That got
Hmm.
everything going, and we started. That's after the first drive. I knew kind of how the game was gonna go, and it was awesome. But that's just like a little story I have about how the offense worked. How like they think we're gonna run it down the throw. All of a sudden, I throw it over someone's head, and Justin catches it, or Magson catches it, whoever it was. But that's just like a little story I had about.
No, and I think that that's great to hear because energy's high on Thanksgiving. So defensively, everybody, the safeties and defensive backs, including even their coaches, never tell them to do this. Like their steps are all kind of forward at first because everybody wants to make the first big pop, and you think, all right, they're gonna come out and try to run the ball down our throat. And like I'm saying, like you have that ability where you run the football very well to have teams kind of just bite or kind of go the direction you want them to go even if it's that extra step or half a step. And that's the difference of something being wide open versus covered. So,
Yep,
yeah, very cool. That's when you
it's
run a
awesome.
balanced offense, it's fun. Jumping into kind of the second part of the question that I did ask you, I mean, talk about at the end of your season, obviously winning on Thanksgiving's the pinnacle, right? It's the first time you guys beat Malden in a bazillion years. But taking a look back at that, enjoying those moments on the field, I saw you guys kind of all having those moments of holding the trophy or standing in Hormel and just kind of staring into the stands or into the sky a little bit. I mean, talk about when that season finished, like how you just felt about the program in general and your journey through it in a way.
I was so proud of the senior class because we I would say we fought through a lot of adversity over our years. Not many people in Medford think that what we did this year would ever be possible. Not even faculty in the school, and just to get the win on Thanksgiving, the winning season, and then taking it all in after the game, and then it's like the best film when you see all your support system around the field. Like I saw the first people I saw after the game, my dad, my mom, my girlfriend, my sister, all rushing on the field, giving me a hug, taking pictures, and then holding the trophy it was one of the best feelings ever, I would say. And then it was just a sigh of relief because whatever we had a winning record, whatever, but it was kind of like winning season or bust, basically, if you don't beat your rival. And to do it in the way we did was awesome. And then looking back at it, it's like almost unthinkable, kind of, because of what I said. No one thinks we were gonna do it, but everyone in the locker room knew what we had was special, and we all knew what it took, and we all knew we could get it done. But the people that aren't in the locker room and aren't inside of practice every day, they don't get it. I would say they just don't understand how much effort and work we put in. We go to school for 6 hours and then we go to practice for three more every single day. And yeah, it gets tiring, but it was so worth it in the end. And I will never forget this year ever. It was insane.
Yeah, and you said it so well, and I've said it almost very similar to almost exact like that. Like people don't understand me. Other sports it happens too, and their practice times can be kind of wild. Some teams are even before school. We covered rowing, and rowing does sometimes their workouts before school starts at 5:30,
Yeah,
6 o'clock in the morning. So it can be anywhere, but there's nothing there's just something different about football. There's nothing like football in the sense that yeah, you wake up early, you go to school, you get out of school, you immediately getting ready for practice because especially after a certain part of the season, you're also fighting light. I mean, you guys are
yeah,
lucky you have light. Sometimes that's not a problem for you, but for a lot of programs it is. So being able to hustle, get the practice, obviously learn an offensive game plan, a defensive game plan, watching film, trying to prep for that, coming home, having to do homework, eat like a normal human being,
yeah,
and do that repetitively and banging your head against the wall and also trying to have a social life and all that that goes along with it is really difficult. And your off seasons are spent either playing other sports or if not training for a specific sport or training your body to work out. It's just not easy. It's just not easy. And so when you said that, I'm like, you're so right. I was like nodding my head like, yeah, people just don't realize, but you love it. Like on the other end of it, you love it. Like when you look back at that, you miss that. And at some point you're gonna get older like me and you just like think about it a lot and you're like, oh, I
yeah,
miss being on a team. Oh, I miss being in a locker room. Oh, I miss having those guys around. Like you do like miss that stuff and you sometimes you realize as soon as sometimes it goes away, or sometimes it takes you a while to realize it like after it goes away. So yeah, kind of cool with that. And then, the last kind of question I guess I'll ask you about football and so on, then we can jump into baseball a little bit, is recruiting. Now, obviously for you, you're playing football in the fall collegiately, which is very cool, NEC. For me, or just for you and for the people out there, I always love to talk about the decision making that goes into that. Obviously, you're a two-sport athlete. Maybe there was a thought of playing one or both sports in college. So for you, being a multiple sport athlete, I guess I'll ask you this in two parts. Part one is kind of knowing maybe which sport collegiately you saw yourself playing a little bit more and when you maybe realized that. And then two, just the process for you. Was there more than one school that was interested, or was there other schools that you were interested in? Like kind of maybe your decision making and how you went about choosing.
So I don't know. Baseball was basically like I'll say it was my first love. When I was a little kid, I loved it. I always loved football too, but I always loved baseball. And I got to high school, and then I don't know something about the family of a football team and like everything that comes with playing football. It just started to I just started to like it a little bit more and more after every year, and then I realized this year that I really love football, and that's what I wanted to do. But I think not to be cocky, I'm trying to be humble, but I think I could do baseball at a school or whatever, and I might try to do it at NEC during the spring. I think I have the capability to do it, of course, but I don't know, just about something about football after the season. My recruiting process was really weird because I'll be honest, there's no coach reaching out to me that wants me bad. No Division two, three, not even close to one was like texting me on Twitter or anything. It was a lot of me trying to reach out to coaches, sending some filming from the last 2 years, trying to just get their attention. And then it was just one random day, uh, Coach Ray Portu texted me on Twitter talking about NEC and how they're restarting their program and how they're looking for kids to come play or whatever. And I was a little bit skeptical at first. I didn't really know. And then I got to talk to him a little bit more. Then he offered me to come visit the school. I got to talk to him. He showed me around the school and told me how it's all going to work out. And I got to talk to the head coach. And then I was trying to talk to other schools, but I didn't get like I got a little bit of interest. I got some replies, and then but it wasn't that much at all. And I was like, I don't know why I'm just going to sit here and wait around, honestly. So I kind of made my decision during the winter that I wanted to do football collegiately this year.
That's great. I mean, and you kind of mentioned like talking on Twitter. I mean, for this like young guys that listen out there that are going to be going through this or maybe currently going through it, you mentioned a lot of it was like kind of you putting it out there and you putting
Yes.
your own film and stuff like that. I mean, talk about that grind aspect of it because, right, you are trying to put film out there, find things of yourself that are interesting that will attract coaches. I mean, that's a whole mind game in itself.
Yep.
So how'd you maybe go about attacking something like that, and building yourself up on Twitter?
So for if you're a younger athlete watching this coming into high school, already in high school, whatever your case is, I would if you play football, I would say 100% make a huddle. Uh, Whatever, go to the huddle, watch your team's film. You could star a play that you did good in, get all your clips, make a little highlight reel, doesn't take too long, and then just get it out there, put it on your Twitter, and then whatever, copy it. And if you're not getting too much attention from coaches, just look up, go on Safari, Google, whatever, look up like the schools that you want to try to get into. Look at the any coach's name, find his Twitter handle, send him like a little nice paragraph, send your huddle, and then see if you get a response. I'd say Twitter is 100% the best way to get your name out there, though, is if you're any athlete, honestly. But football, get a little highlight reel, and then that's the best way I'd say to do it.
Yeah, I mean, Twitter definitely is such a tool for that. I mean, even when I
Yeah.
first started this podcast, just to like learn about programs and find out about coaches and so on, all of it really was just searching on Twitter, like who's the most active, what they're doing, going back and look at previous posts. And yeah, collegiately, especially nowadays, even when I used to coach and go to clinics or, see some defensive back coach or some linebacker coach give a cool little workshop or have a cool PowerPoint or whatever that you kind of want to steal some stuff off of or, adjust and make it your own a little bit. College coaches are extremely active via email, but specifically Twitter. I mean, more coaches I talk to through DMing them on Twitter than I would even get in touch with them in email or even via text message sometimes. So I totally agree with you. Twitter is definitely the way to go. Or Higher Beyond Podcast. We'll cover you individually and whatever. But no, I mean, in all honesty, I mean, that's just even when I coach, that's the way to go. I mean, I used to tell kids like that all the time. Like we take good film, take advantage of taking those clips or cutting those
Yeah.
clips. So it's always good to be able to build your own film. But also a lot of athletes that we've had on this podcast have really written us nice letters saying how grateful they were because this was something they could actually
Yeah.
show a coach or send to a coach that maybe just showed a little bit of a different side of who they were. And the person that was being recruited. So that was kind of cool to kind of hear that too. So, anything to separate yourself, really.
Yep. Another good
Uh,
way to get
yeah,
recruited is just go to a couple camps when you can too. Sign up for the camps. I
yeah.
know. I think there's one during the summer at Tufts with a bunch of schools that come around too. But that's another good way. Try to go to a camp and then show your skills at the showcase, whatever. That's another good way. I just want to get that out there too.
No, yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I mean, yourself, I'm sure, walking into places like that or showcases like that, you got the size, you got the arm. I mean, college coaches are looking just to recruit you, work on your footwork, work on your read skills, release a little bit better, things like that. So yeah, you obviously could raise a few eyebrows just from the body structure and so on and so forth. Um, you seem like just from like meeting you, you've always like pretty mild man. You never really just like chew juiced up. You never really chew like down. You kind of just always mellowed. Um, how do you get yourself up for a game like mentally a little bit? Like, is there certain music that you're listening to? Are you just the type of dude that goes out there and just treats every day like it's every day? I mean, for you mentally a little bit. And that might be different between football and baseball because they are two different animals in general. But for you, like, what's something that just maybe calms you down, or and then kind of maybe the other way of getting you up and getting juiced up for a game?
So I'll start with football. Before a football game, I'm usually just pretty relaxed. Yeah, just hanging out, talking to the guys, and then the bus arrives whatever for an away game. I just throw my headphones on. I play different types of music that it's just like I have a weird wide span of music I'll play, whether it's I don't know Jay-Z, Rihanna, Drake, some country music, whatever it is that day, rap, whatever. That can kind of get me in a mindset, and then I love texting like my dad before a game and like just getting to talk to him what he expects out of me tonight, and I have that in my mind all night. It's like I have to prove this guy wrong. Just like proving people wrong always gets me in a good like gets me juiced up. And then
Yeah.
if it's like if we get there and then there's a lot of chatter already, that kind of gets me going too. So it all depends. That's more baseball, but it happened in football a lot too. It's like kids running their mouth before a game, talking during on the field. That gets me all fired up sometimes. But yeah, I'm usually relaxed. And then for baseball, it's just like I'm usually pretty mellow before a baseball game, unless we're gonna play. Like the Tufts Classic was a great time. That I was pretty fired up for that game. But yeah, it depends who I'm playing, and it depends what the circumstance of the game is. Pretty much for baseball, but for football, it's just like the types of music and get like texting family members and whoever. That kind of gets me in like a mindset to like let's go.
Do you ever lose your mind? Like, I mean, I'm thinking more football. I'm not going to talk baseball because I don't
Yeah.
see you losing your mind in baseball. But I mean, I'm sure you're pretty like even keel kid. But if you went in the locker room and started screaming or f-bombing or whatever, I'm sure like you have everybody's attention.
Um, I mean, I've definitely lost my cool a couple. Yeah, there was actually one time this year. Uh, we had a terrible first half. I come into the locker room. I'm not gonna put anyone on blast, but I just start screaming, and then just I was getting loud, and everyone's just kind of looking at me like, "What's this kid? Like, what's his deal right now? Like, what's his problem?" Like, no one, like they took me seriously, but like I was like, "All right, relax, like, cool down, we're gonna be fine." But I was definitely a little bit upset of how the upfront was playing, and I don't know, I was just started to get me pretty pissed off, and then the coaches heard me, and they were like we like that because we never really get that out of you. Like I'm happy that we finally got something out of you, but
Yeah.
maybe try to tone it down just a little bit because
Yeah. It's sometimes it's knowing when to lose your cool. I mean, when I
yeah,
coach, like for the most part, I never really lost my cool, but when I would lose my cool, like I could just see like kids grinning, like almost like, okay,
yeah,
So I think there's a time and a place, and sometimes you gotta know what to say and how to say it or how to get there a little bit. But yeah, I think when you see someone who cares and is passionate and fired up, like God, you just don't always get that out of kids. So
yeah,
when you see someone who genuinely cares, I mean, yeah, maybe you gotta like kind of fix it a little bit, but for the most part, the passion and the love's there. That's like 85% of it.
yeah. I really caught all my coaches off guard because they always try to get it out of me. Like, when are you gonna like? Why are you being so like soft, whatever? Like they try to just get me to get going. They were all kind of took off guard when I did that. They weren't mad or anything. They were just like, just next time you could go a better way about it. But they weren't mad at all. They were kind of actually excited. Coach really loved it. So
Yeah. I mean, Coach
yeah,
Curley's nuts too. I mean, he loses his mind all the
yeah,
time. I coached against Coach Curley. I don't know if he'll remember this story or not, but so I was the head coach at AC, and like when I took over the program, he was like defensive coordinator at Arlington.
yep,
There was some pretty bad blood between the two schools, but I wasn't there, so like I kind of inherited it a little bit. And but you gotta have some bad blood. You gotta have some bad blood. It
yeah,
makes for a good Thanksgiving game. So but Coach and I knew each other previously from like he worked Somerville Rec. I worked for Medford Summer Fun. We did a lot of stuff together. Coaching world, we coached against each other when he was at different schools too. So it was always a lot of respect. So long story short, playing Thanksgiving Day, and it's like a record cold Thanksgiving game, like -degrees. So a lot of schools decided to move their game to Wednesday night, which was still like 10 degrees. I mean, it wasn't like it was warm. It was still freezing, but it was better than like -8 that they were
yeah,
like projecting. So we play that night, and yeah, I think Arlington wanted to move the game, whatever, but both schools were clearly just using this ammunition that the other school was too wimpy and they wanted to move the game to when it was warm or whatever. Coach Curley comes out wearing a t-shirt and shorts the entire game. Like
yeah.
at some point, I was like, "This guy there's no way he's lasting." Like I was kind of like laughing on the sideline. I'm like, I've been there, I've done that. I don't know if he's lasting, but to his credit, he did. He lasted the whole game. I mean, I argue how his Thanksgiving morning was, maybe frostbit a little bit or whatever, but he did. So he's a fiery guy, and I think that's who he is. Like his players play hard for him. They respect him and love him. He tells it how it is. And that style of coaching sometimes isn't always there. And I think for a lot of kids who get juiced up with that style of coaching, you get the best out of them. So
Yeah,
I totally get it. You go in the war, like you want a warrior and leading you in the front. So I totally get that. And then obviously before we jump into the baseball stuff for you, I'm a Medford public school teacher myself. What is some interest in school for you as far as like classes that you've taken in school or what you're even maybe taking up at school in the fall? I'll give you a little chance to shout out Medford here a little bit. Any teachers or any classes that, were super interested and maybe led you to the path that you might be heading down in your future?
Yeah, so I'll start when I was younger. Fourth grade, Columbus, I went to, or Mississauga now. But Mr. Platty, I loved him. He was awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
I opened the letter. I found out I had him. Everyone, when I was like in third grade, they told me, "Oh, you don't want this guy." I literally started like bawling my eyes out. I was so scared to go to those classes. He was the best. I loved him.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, he taught fifth grade for a little bit. We used to be like in a lot of like city meetings together,
yeah,
like when they had like all the grades, like the same grades in the same school. So he's a funny guy. I
yeah,
liked him.
he was awesome. And then
Yeah.
middle school, I went to McLean. Um, Mr. Prezio was there, but I think she was there because my English teacher was pregnant, maybe, or something
Okay.
there. But she was cool before COVID happened.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, Miss Irving was cool. She didn't really like me, but I kind of liked her because
Yeah.
she was pretty cool. And then Miss Bellini was awesome.
Yep.
And
Science.
then
Yeah.
and then high
I mean,
school,
Miss Irving was
yeah,
my middle school math teacher. Just put that in
yeah.
perspective. Yeah.
And then I loved in high school. Mr. Claire was awesome. Um, Mr. Streff was awesome. Um, there's more. I love Miss McCarthy. She was the I don't know her title. She wasn't a teacher. She was like in her own like I don't know. I forget what it's called. And then oh Miss Carnabucci. I had her every year I took science. She was cool. Her and Miss Tulane. I love them. They were I gave them a tough time probably, and I probably got on their nerves a lot, but they were always good to me. And, those are probably the most standout teachers I've had that
Yeah, I
I've
mean, usually the teachers, like, I mean, when I think back of the students that I had, like the ones that always stand out to me, like the ones that I definitely battled with a little bit, but
yeah
they also like understand that perspective as they get older. Like,
yeah.
yeah, he was actually a lot cooler than I maybe thought he was when I was 10 or 11 years old, So, um, yeah, that's fun to always hear that. Now, are you like decided going to college, undecided? Is there anything you're looking to take classes in to maybe figure out what you want to do? What's kind of your thought process there?
I'm gonna go into sports media and communications because growing up, I've always loved it. But then I also love criminal justice. I've always been into that kind of stuff for some reason. So I'm gonna see how the first semester and how maybe the whole year goes with this. But I wouldn't be too shocked if I was to switch my major, depending on how
Yeah.
I look at it now.
Okay, cool, cool. And for you, just talk baseball a little bit, dude. I mean, you're a heck of a baseball player too. I mean, I know we talked a lot of football and the recruiting process for that, but for you, baseball, I mean, you were great at it. I mean, talk a little bit about your baseball career and then obviously, yeah, I mean, the good of it, obviously, we want to give you a shout out for the good that you did, but you kind of seemed every time I watched you play third base, I saw you playing pitcher. I mean, I feel like I saw you even play the outfield
Yeah.
before. Yeah, so you kind of play a lot of different spots.
Yeah. So freshman year, whatever, it was COVID, but we had a season. We had a 10-game season. And then I was just a freshman and I knew like all the other kids playing. But I remember tryouts, I was doing pretty good. I was doing all right. And then there was me and like maybe two other catchers that were freshmen, and they kind of knew he needed another catcher. And I just remember him. It was me and one other kid left, and then it was just like he called the other kid, then he called me, and he's like, "We don't do this often, whatever, but we're gonna take you on the varsity team, and you're gonna play with us this year, and we're gonna see how it goes." And I remember we played Mauled in the first game. And, we kind of were killing them. I get in that bat, and I just hit one down the left field line. I get a double. Like everyone's going crazy for me because I'm just a little freshman. It's just like it was awesome. We went 10-0. We were the number one seed in the state, which is crazy. We got to play Haverhill, and then we lost the GBL championship though to Lynn English. But it was crazy. Getting to play with Aiden Barry was cool. Sean Nestor, all those older kids. I was like kind of I don't want like maybe guess kind of looked up to because my cousins are all friends with him. He was playing with me too. I was
Yeah.
going to their games and stuff. Yeah, but getting to play with Aiden Barry was awesome because he was at Villanova now. He was hitting bombs in high school, so that was sick.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I actually remember hearing a lot about him. Never seen him play, but heard the name and
Yeah,
heard the story is kind of cool.
he was hitting bombs, and then yeah, and then Sophomore year, it was like literally the sophomore slump. Like I was in it bad. I didn't have a good sophomore year at all, but it was fine. I still got to play and stuff. And then junior year, I picked it up a little bit. I started pitching a little bit more, and that was kind of fun. I like pitching a lot, but I didn't really do it that much in high school. But I got started getting a little bit better at it. And then this year, I would say my bat was just red hot. Like I just was hot this year at the plate, especially at the beginning of the year. I started to die down a little bit after the mid-season ended, like the last couple games, but my bat was kind of hot. And then I don't know, one of the favorite kids I got to play with in high school for baseball and football was Justin. I feel like he was always like my partner in crime. Like he was the receiver that got the most looks, and he was like me and him would bat like 3 and 4, and like
Yeah.
I would hit a double and he would bring me home, and then or he would hit a triple and I would bring him home. Like we were just like clicking, like bull sports. I'd say he's awesome. I love Justin. He's a
Yeah,
great
I
athlete.
mean, I used to like joke when I covered you guys. I used to joke your coach. I'm like, you're like 3, 4, 5 batters are like monsters. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, most pitchers that come out to face those guys, I mean, you're facing like three big, strong athletes, you know?
yeah, but yeah, I definitely wanted to give a shout out to Justin because getting to play with him was awesome. I felt like he was my partner in crime. My 4 years at Medford High, with the 3 years with him or whatever. But yeah,
No, that's great. And as I said, like it's fun, it's fun seeing like I cover baseball and I laugh like when I cover different sports and I look at the coaches and like pregame hype up and like everything's so different, but baseball is just like so different. Like I want to see somebody like throw a bat against a fence or like hit a walk off and like flip the bat. Like I want to see that because
yeah,
like usually that's kind of the energy you see, but when we cover baseball, it's just like different, but just like the demeanor of the coaches and the actions of the kids and all that stuff. It's so funny and I always kind of ask multiple sport athletes like, yeah, you must be two different people. Like the
yeah, yeah.
mentality you have for football
It's really
going
different.
into game days different than baseball, like where you're playing long toss or batting like it's just not the
Yeah,
same,
it's not.
which
I
is
remember.
funny.
I think you were definitely at the game because I remember I got a little interview at the end of it. But the Tufts Classic game,
Yeah.
sick. You got like that was like a little glimpse of like high intense baseball that we were playing that night. I just remember Coach Oz is fired up since the first pitch of the game, and then I remember they might have had a lead and we came back. Then I got to go on the mound, and that was like probably the best game I ever thrown. And then we went into maybe it was bottom of the seventh, maybe we went into extras. It was bottom of the eighth, and then Justin hit the triple, and then he stole home, and then it was like a celebration. He walked it off basically, and then holding the Tufts Classic trophy was kind of cool too. That was awesome. We didn't get to do that this year. Some people got the best of us, but that's what,
Hey, it is what it is, but yeah, we were there. We caught that moment. It was a really
yeah,
cool ending to a game, and like I think there were so many individual plays of like you pitching, some kids getting some clutch hits, stealing
yeah,
bases, making like it was just kind of one of those games that you were like, "Ooh, the team that loses game is gonna be a tough loss," because
yeah,
both teams were really just playing so well. So that was kind of cool. But this has been great, man, and I'm gonna kind of ask you one last question. You don't have to go too deep into it, but just, something obviously as someone you going through the process and maybe closing one chapter of your athletic career while opening the next chapter for everyone to see. But what would be advice to young athletes out there, kids that are entering high school or maybe just went through their freshman year of high school, as far as like things that they should start doing or thinking about maybe that you didn't know about as you're gone through this process the last couple of years?
So if you, I would say if you played a sport growing up and you're skeptical about playing it in high school, 100% do it. It could be tough, but once you find like the right time management with school, like school comes first because if you don't pass school, you can't play. But if you're passionate about a sport and you love it, but you're kind of iffy about I don't know if this might be too much, I would say do it because you don't know where it could lead you. And then I would say yeah, and then if you're not sure about playing a sport and if you're going into high school for like your sophomore year or freshman year, work out with whatever team is gonna play in the fall. So like if you want to do soccer, go to the soccer captain practices. If you want to play football, go to the weight room and 7-on-7s. If you want to play volleyball, then start going with the volleyball team. Like whatever sport it is, work out with them before the season to see if you're really getting into it. And if you're into it, play during high school and see how tryouts go.
Yeah, like you said, most people, it's never the sport that you always played your whole life that you end
Yep.
up falling in love with. I mean, I was a hockey guy going into high school, and I walked out a football guy through and through. Still have buddies that just went away with a couple weeks ago, like that we keep in touch and we still get together a lot. So there's that bond for sure when it comes to football. It's just different. And those that played it maybe just understand it a little bit more. But dude, it was great having you come on here today. I know we kind of talked about this a few months back, and this was the time that kind of worked for both of us a little bit. And obviously, congratulations to you and kind of your next step in your athletic career. Like I said, you got the build, you got the size. Just kind of learn the system, learn the process a little bit, follow the nutrition plan, follow the weightlifting plan. Keep your grades up, man. It's football is awesome in the sense if you get to play it collegiately, but it's also awesome because it disciplines your life and gives you a schedule and gives you structure through the next 4 years of your life too. So it's tough. It's going to be hard. You're going to be homesick. Just battle through it because it will help you the next 4 years of your life for sure.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we're excited. Anything we can do for you, you obviously just ask us and we'll do it. So we appreciate you coming on here today. And guys, we appreciate you. We're back after a little bit of a summer hiatus. We got a lot of stuff coming up in August that we'll be sharing over the next few weeks. But and get ready to eat some ice cream. We're going to be talking about details about that too. So without further ado, this is Beyond Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Petrellis, Jack Lombardo. Till next time.